I obviously knew about the original show, V, from the 80s, which was pretty creepy.
I was a kid at the time, and honestly, I couldn't watch it because it used to freak me out a little bit.
I don't remember watching it necessarily. I remember this overwhelming feeling of fear. And I heard they were remaking it, and I thought that was such a great idea because I think that there were a lot of elements that could be drawn from today's world.
We want to provide complete medical services to all.
You're talking about universal health care.
I believe that's what you call it, yes.
I hadn't originally heard of V before I was cast in it, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect, so I went out and bought it, and I kind of got a gist for what the original was about. But it was a whole new world for me. I mean, I'd done sci-fi before, but I was excited to be on the show with this cast and this network.
You know, all my life I've been into ufology and UFOs and things, and it always was kind of like, I really enjoy this, but I would never do anything like this. But when I read it, it was like, yeah, I would love to be a part of this.
One of the things about the pilot episode that I really, that really excited me was the fact that it read like a feature film. It was just so, it was this big, grand type project. So I said, I have to be a part of this.
Everything was ripe for this show to be a wonderful story. So, you know, and then I found out that Morris Chestnut was going to be a part of it, and Elizabeth Mitchell and Morena and Scott Wolf, and I knew it was going to be a good group to be hanging out with and doing some good work. So it was exciting from the beginning.
The hardest part of the show is that there's so many characters to write for, but it's also the best part because they're all so good.
First of all, V is doing a great justice to women.
I love the fact that the two, you know, opposing leads in this are two females who are going up against each other, one representing Earth and one representing the aliens.
It is really important to me that you don't get involved with the visitors. I know they're exciting and kind of cool, but for me, can you do that?
I believe the idea of the season is, and what I enjoy is mother against mother. Mother of a child and a mother of your people.
I don't know what I'm thinking.
You're thinking about protecting your son, the ones you love.
There's something really powerful about the fact that the center of the story is these two opposing forces. Neither is necessarily right or wrong. They're both just in their own way trying to take care of their own children.
Now, Erica is not necessarily the mother of her people, but in this particular regard, she is representing her people. She's fighting for people who don't know that she's fighting for them, which is fascinating to me.
At the time when we were casting this show, Lost was obviously in full swing, and Elizabeth Mitchell never crossed our minds because she was on Lost.
I actually was working in Hawaii, and I found out that I was let go from Lost. And then I found out that Morris Chestnut was doing V, and I said, is there a good female protagonist? They said, well, we're still looking for our lead female protagonist. And I said, ha-ha!
And we got a call saying, what do you think of Elizabeth Mitchell for this role? And we said, well, she's on Lost. And they said, what do you think of Elizabeth Mitchell for this role? And I went, oh, well, we love the idea of Elizabeth Mitchell for this role.
And they sent it, and I loved it. And I called them and told them I loved it, and they actually thought it was a good idea. So it was all the way around quite shocking, given that I usually audition for things about 17 times. So that's when I found out about V. I was very excited because I watched it when I was a kid. I watched it when I was like 13, 14, whatever. 84 was 14. And people tell me I have to stop saying how old I am, but it's kind of fun.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, Prime Focus with Chad Decker is proud to present an up-close and personal interview with Anna, the Visitor High Commander. On behalf of all of us, I want to thank you for this opportunity to get to know you a little better.
Thank you, Chad. And please feel free to ask anything and everything. I'm here to discuss all topics without reserve.
First, I had to audition, and I auditioned for Scott Peters.
This was an extremely important role, and so we actually had a Saturday casting call, which is really unusual to have weekend casting calls, and hence saw probably 25 or 30 women that day. And Morena walked in, and first of all, she's striking. So you do a double take when she walks in, and she's got that incredible short hair and amazing eyes, and she's absolutely beautiful. And we had her do, I think it was the speech from the top of the pilot, where she first shows up and does her speech from the bottom of the ship.
My name is Anna, and I am the leader of my people. I immediately knew what I wanted to do with this role. It's a character that is, for me, so contained and so together. And trust me, I'm definitely not this graceful in real life.
World leaders that you admire have this sort of this feeling of their, and it's going to sound funny, they feel comfortable in their own skin.
She knows exactly what to say and how to deal with difficult situations in a very graceful way. So it's challenging to be that centered all the time. One of the most pivotal moments for me as an actor was in the very, very beginning of creating this character when Scott Peters said to me, we really don't want her to be an alien, a robotic alien, so get that out of your head.
Together, can we help each other heal? Together.
It's time.
In order for humans to be attracted to her and to trust her and to want more from her, she has to be nurturing and she has to be human-like.
Why should I listen to anything that you have to say?
I'd like to offer my heartfelt condolences for your loss.
Even though Anna doesn't feel human emotion, you still want to see her struggling with something, and you want to, if she was a character that knew everything and everything was fine, there would be no conflict, and I think people want to watch conflict. So it's a challenge to keep that in there and to keep that alive and to just not fall back on playing this, you know, all empowering character.
And I'm a very, very lucky man that I get to, you know, stare at this incredibly beautiful woman who, she bad lady. She bad lady. Yeah, they're really upping the ante on her nastiness. It's great. It's great. How could something so beautiful be so mean?
If Anna's willing to do whatever it takes, the question becomes, do the human beings, in order to fight her, are they willing to do whatever it takes also? She ends up not just being an antagonist in terms of your sort of the way you would typically think of an antagonist, but she's hopefully now pushing these characters into sort of like a moral quandary. Is it worth winning a battle when you become your enemy, so to speak?
What do you mean we can't win?
Visitors are too powerful, and they will do whatever they can to get what they want.
One of the things that drew me to this story right away was that it seemed like there weren't necessarily clearly drawn heroes or villains.
Erica is on her way to being a hero, possibly, but at this point in time, she's just a person who's struggling under extraordinary circumstances.
It's hard to pinpoint who the real hero is because it depends on what side you're coming from. Anna probably thinks it's her. She's trying to protect her race and her children, which is great and righteous, and Erica's trying to do the exact same thing for the human race.
She had to do this. Like, her partner, who she loved, who was her best friend, tried to kill her. Like, it came right into her family, into her world, into her home, and there's nothing she could do but fight. So it's nice, a reluctant hero, but nevertheless kind of a hero, which is good.
This was not her destiny. This was a role that she's been thrust into, and it's following how an ordinary person can become that leader and can become that person, rather than, you know, them being the one, so to speak.
With Chad, he's, I guess, somebody who is almost heroic despite himself sometimes. I think ultimately he's put himself in a position, and he put himself there because he was self-serving, but he's now in a position where what he does and how he does it plays a huge role.
I think ultimately my character's not a hero yet. I think he grows every time he falls down.
What about me? You left me too, Dad. What, you feel duped for raising somebody else's kid?
A good hero keeps falling down and having to pick itself up. He's definitely been through stuff, and I grew to like him more and more every episode, because at the beginning I almost didn't like him. But now I'm really starting to enjoy his company.
In some ways, having to find and love and understand and inhabit a personality and a skin that is very different from my own, and that is potentially even unpleasant to some people, is something that I've loved doing. It's nice to play a guy who's not necessarily a bad guy, but is complicated in a way where you just don't know if you can trust him.
I'm really enjoying playing this character because of all the different levels, all the different dimensions and angles that I can approach this character. And he puts everything on the line for love. But when you really look at what has transpired, you know, in the pilot, he's lied to his girlfriend. He's impregnated his girlfriend and didn't tell her that he's an alien. Then he went up to the ship to get drugs to drug his girlfriend. You know, so he's a liar. She thinks he's cheating, and he's drugging her. You know, so. But then, yeah, he's very valiant in, you know, putting his life on the line for love. You know, it's a really difficult thing for me. Just the conflicts and emotional and internal struggles that I go through with my character is done. I've never had a character this complex before.
There will be no peace. I have decided that my initial stance, my initial position with Morena's character Anna is that I am loyal to her. However, I am a bit of a watcher of the piece, but I've always thought it was interesting to play the notion of, you know, it's just a matter of when you might trip up. Don't trip up, because I'm prepared to take the position.
My generation is a very angry generation. We got handed a broken machine, and we're expected to be the ones who fix it. That's what I think what Tyler is. If something shows up out of the blue and says we can do stuff for people, then that's the one we're going to choose. So he is a bit gullible and, you know, doesn't read into the lines because he's so passionate about he must fix it.
The visitors are not driving people away from God. They're driving people back to God.
People are scared, Father. He's a man of incredible commitment, Father Jack. He's focused. What I knew when I got the show was that here he is working at St. Josephine's, which is a low-income area. He's in it. He's trying to do the good in a tough area. That says a lot about somebody.
It's so funny about V being a social commentary because I've always thought it was somewhat of a religious commentary. I always thought it was so much about our loss of faith and how we're all searching for something to save us.
The idea of having Father Jack in the show, who's you know, representative of sort of a religious, you know, comes from a religious background, I think he's able to see very clearly what the V's are doing, or at least he's questioning what they're doing.
We're all so quick to jump on the bandwagon. And ride on the bandwagon, it sounds like fun. But before we get on, let us at least make sure it is sturdy and sound.
He used to step outside, look up, and see God in his mind. Now there's a spaceship in the way, and that's what happens with, you know, what he's seeing happening with a lot of people. And devotion's a very strong thing, and can be used as a tool. And I think he sees that.
Faith is a really difficult thing to handle.
Whatever your beliefs may be, you know, are you a Taoist, are you Catholic, are you, you know, any of those things, I think it is going to speak to everyone on a different level. Someone came in that we have no sight of, but then you have Father Jack who says they came here, and when they came here, they started to develop a soul. So what does that say? God's just on earth? I mean, it's fascinating, it really is.
I've been doubting God. Are the V's demons or angels?
Is everything I believed a lie?
We have so many possibilities where we can go with this show. We've established something that's so really hitting a chord. I think that, you know, mothering and spirituality and faith and you know, ambition, all that stuff is in this show, and we have a lot of stories ahead of us.
This is kind of a show I was able to be a part of from the ground up. Smallville had already gone on for 6 years.
It taught me really how to work on set. I'm a new guy to all this. I'm not related to anybody. I'm not the son of a casting director. I'm just a kid from Indiana. And the hardest thing to do is say, hey, you can trust me. And the fact that this show trusted me and said, you know what, this kid can be Tyler Evans, is a really lovely thing.
As the season goes on, we've all gotten really close.
So it's taught me that a cast can be, you know, a tight-knit family.
V is probably one of the best jobs I've ever had. It's just a ton of fun to play this role.
We're still trying to figure out, is this a great path? Is this a great path? Does this work? Does this work? So I don't come in knowing what I'm doing. I come in with an absolute desire to tell the truth and figure it out. And I think that we've all done that as a group, and therefore we've come together really tight. Occasionally we're a little bit of an improv group, but they cut most of that out, which is good.
Elizabeth taught me many different ways to memorize my lines. Everybody on cast, they've been lovely. Laura helps me find the light.
It's a very collaborative group of people here. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing. We're all trying to put out a great episode every time and make the fans like it.
If I have to say what this V has meant, it's just being able to touch a whole new generation of people who've been able to enjoy our V.
The feeling on it now is that everybody is working very, very diligently to make this something interesting.
There have been definitely moments of battling through stuff and growing pains, but I'm really, really proud of what I've been a part of here, and you know, look forward to more.
These are nothing but lies. They look like you, they sound like you, but we are not like you.